Oh yes, hello my friends and happy Thursday. Hopefully your week is coming to a nice, easy landing. We left off the show yesterday with some really troubling news, and actually when I said I was sad on the show yesterday, I really meant that. But Nick Ricada, he obviously lost his channel. The chat sort of caught wind of that as it happened in real time. Apparently he was live streaming, same time we were live streaming, and boom, evaporated right in the middle of the stream. And I've seen this happen before. You know, there's another YouTuber who sort of went through this experience, not sort of, went through exactly this experience. He had his live stream canceled in the middle of the stream. You may know him, Eric Hunley, and he sort of covers a lot of the same topics that we cover, but he got hit in the middle of the stream as well. And I know that what can happen is YouTube, you know, they have these bots and they have these, you know, systems that listen to words and watch what's on the screen, and then they just will nuke the channel if they see something that they don't like. But I don't know if that's exactly what happened with Nick's case. But as I said on the show yesterday, you know, I really wanted to encourage everybody to go follow him and get the updates from him. He did provide an update yesterday, so he seems like he's doing all right. He was over on Rumble. And you know, if you're not familiar with Nick Ricada, he's, like I said yesterday, I think he's a very sharp guy. I think he's got very good insight on a lot of what's happening in the world, the current state of the world. I think he sees things very clearly. He's articulate. He provides very good insight on, you know, new ideas. I think he's a very talented guy, very smart, and you know, impressive what he's built and what he's done. He's been the pioneer in many ways on some of this, you know, trial coverage. Like he covered, you know, Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole thing live. I think he was kind of the first one to sort of take that bite. And so, you know, this is a big deal, and it does make me sad. It's like, what a joke. You know, there's people who want to expose and shine sunlight and debate ideas, and then there's other people on the side of darkness who just want to censor and silence and shut everybody up. And you know, whether this is a YouTube problem or the people who were causing this to happen, my understanding is he got brigaded, which is where there's a whole group of people from, let's say, an opposing channel, maybe of equal or bigger size, and they all get mad and they all, you know, jump in chats and they all say, we're going to go flag somebody's video and take them out. So it's almost like digital warfare. You know, they'll flag a video, they'll say it's community service guideline violations, and they'll try to take out their opponents and silence them. You know, this stuff happened all throughout history. You know, even back in the Middle Ages and stuff, you'd have, like, you know, Copernicus and Galileo or whatever, and they would be trying to undermine each other and ruin their inventions, and, you know, high competition. But in modern America, you know, this type of stuff is not appropriate. You're not supposed to try to, like, I have a law firm. I don't go to other law firms and try to wreck their businesses, and try to leave bad reviews or get their website taken down or, you know, wreck their livelihood. Like, that's not appropriate. It's competition. Yes, we're competing over the same cases, and yes, you know, some of the guys are very admirable and esteemable and some are not. You know, but we play by the rules, and we don't try to, you know, if we're going to beat them, it's going to be in the marketplace of ideas. It's going to be in the, you know, economic competition. We're going to get better results, at you know, better communication, better value, better prices, better everything, right? That's how we're going to win. But yeah, it would be pretty easy if we could just go out and just say, okay, all of our competitors are now removed. They're all eliminated because of some rule somewhere. And you know, that may actually become the reality. You know, when you think about a lot of this, environmental, social, global, and some of these new social credit scores. And if you're a MAGA Republican insurrectionist, why should you get the same privileges as somebody who is not a MAGA insurrectionist? Right, this is how this is going already. And like I said, I don't know if it was YouTube that, you know, YouTube obviously has created the system, but I've seen it where the bots will automatically strike something and then it comes back. So I'm really, you know, crossing my fingers for Nick that is what happens here. But if not, I support Nick. I'll do whatever I can to help him, help his audience know where he's moved to and what happened, and get them to reconnect with him. He was on Rumble last night, and he had a big audience. Something like 20,000 people were live over there. And I watched a little bit of the intro. He went on for several hours, and he seems like he's doing okay. He's, I think, a real resilient person. He's been through ups and downs. Obviously, he's sort of a soldier warrior in this space, and he, I think, has the resilience to figure this out. And I was thinking of that quote, "If you strike me down, you have no idea how strong I'll become." And I think that's going to be the truth on a lot of this, because people want freedom. They want free speech. They want free ideas. They want free thought. They don't want to listen to, there's a lot of lefty channels out there on YouTube that are, sort of big channels, but pretty low engagement. Their audience is not as into it as some of these other channels. And it's because I think people just get tired of the same talking points. Like, you can only call people a racist for so long, or bigots or xenophobes or whatever, before that talking point starts to get played out. We have to talk about real solutions and consequences to the things that are happening in the world. And, if you can't do that, like, there's only so much mileage you can get out of categorizing people, treating people like trading cards all the time, which is why, as we're seeing, they default back to Trump. That's why the whole narrative from basically everywhere has been about Trump, because they don't want to talk about anything else. They don't want to talk about their policies. And so when guys like Nick, who are extremely effective at lampooning them, satire, mocking them, dismantling their arguments with, humor and poise and intelligence, and sort of, you back them into a corner, they get very upset. And they, a couple dogs saying hello over there. Everybody's just fighting all over the place here. They want to cancel each other too. It's just ridiculous. Be peaceful, puppies. But, when I think about what happened to Nick, he said yesterday when he was streaming on Rumble that, he'd been investing in his channel, been working on it for 5 years. And when he said that, my heart just went, gah, because I know how much effort I put into my channel, our channel. I spent a ton of time, show prep. I think about it all the time. I really am constantly trying to think about how I can improve it and, provide more value and learn it better and master it as a craft almost. And if you recall, if you've been with us for a while, we started the Watching the Watchers show March 2020, when the national emergency hit. I was doing public speaking and stuff around that time, and I thought, well, this is all done. So I sort of set that aside and went online, and then I did that show starting on Wednesdays, once a week on Wednesdays, and then by September that had transitioned into an everyday thing. And so it's only been a couple of years, just a couple of years really, where I've taken it seriously and sort of invested my time into it. But Nick said 5 years, 5. And, I've joined in on some of his streams, and we've had conversations, and, I know how much he cares about it, how much work and effort he puts in, sitting there commenting for 8-9 hours at a time. It's exhausting. It really is. It's really tiring to, have your mind up and fresh for that entirety. So, for a platform to just delete it, gone. You're gone. 5 years, gone. All of that time, effort, money, okay. But all of the other things I think are more important, because, those are necessary. The money comes from all of those other things. The money is not the necessary variable here. But you also have to consider that. He's married, he's got kids. That's a big chunk of his income, no doubt about it. And, now he's got to have to weather that. And I'm sure, wife and kids, and, it causes anxiety for the whole household. And so I'm thinking about them today. And if if there's anything that I can do to help, if any of you know anything that I can do to help, please let me know. Nick, I know you're super busy, but if you're watching this, anything I can do to help, my friend, you've got it. Because I think it's important to circle the wagons at these times. But onward, we'll go onward. I do think that freedom of speech wins. I think if you look through history, the censors are always the bad guys. The people who are trying to stop the arguments from being had because they know they're on the losing end, they lose all the time. And so these people are going to lose as well. It's going to take some time for these alternatives to become mainstream. But this type of stuff, unfortunately, is part of the realization. I don't want to say it's necessary, because I don't think it is necessary, but it helps us all realize how precarious this position, a position like this could really be. And Nick was getting millions of views a month, millions, tens of millions. Okay, very effective voice, very effective at connecting with people and spreading the message. Just got turned off like that. Now, temporary. Rumble's looking great over there. He's on locals. I signed up for the year on locals, and he's been posting over there. So if you want updates on Nick, that's the best place to do it. But in the meantime, we'll do what we can to support this effort. Now, in other news, we saw this morning headlines all over the place that the Russians are, getting a little bit agitated with some of the difficulties they're having in the war. And as we've explained, they have, I think, been pretty serious about the prospect of tactical nuclear weapons or serious escalations. They're moving vehicles around that apparently transport this type of weaponry. And as a response, the United States has ordered, apparently, $290 million or so, give or take, of anti-radiation pills or medicine, whatever that is. So my first question, of course, is, okay, great, good. They're getting prepared. They're being responsible bureaucrats. They're taking care of America. Great. Or is this just something that they're planning for and they know is coming down the pike? Like, okay, well, you blew up the pipeline and Putin's mobilizing now. So, well, here it comes. Should we order those pills? Let's see what Putin does. Okay, better order them. Which, is concerning, because obviously, I think that if there is any amount of radiation anywhere, then it's going to be a nuclear bomb. It's going to be the end of the world. And I'm going to be waiting for the mandates to come for your, iodine vaccine or whatever. Where'd they get those pills from? Who makes those? Was it another Pfizer purchase? I don't know. But more nuclear, I'm sure it's just going to be the current crisis if and when it does happen. And I don't mean to say that, lobbing off nuclear weapons is not consequential. Obviously, it's a catastrophe. But like everything, you never let a good crisis go to waste. And if that does happen, even if it's a small tactical something or other, while tragic, I am sure it's going to mean that here in America, we have to do all sorts of stuff in order to deal with that, which I'm sure I'll be upset about if that happens. And I'm really hopeful that it doesn't. But we've listened to Putin. I think this is literally an existential crisis for him. He said things like, yeah, I know nukes will wreck the world, but what good is a world without Russia? And it's an existential crisis to him, and it's hard to just sort of scoff at that and throw that in the dumpster when he's been pretty consistent, I think, in taking actions in alignment with what he says. It's been pretty obvious. even when we were watching the buildup, you know, the Biden administration, they're sitting around like, well, we don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's sending building up an exercise. Hundreds of thousands of troops are piling up on the border. And we have Blinken and Austin sitting out there just, you know, goofing all over the place. They don't know what's going on. So, a couple $100 million, radiation pills, probably not enough to cover the whole population. That's probably a $50 billion price tag or something. So, maybe that's just for, you know, a certain contingent of the people who are engaged overseas or over in the theater there. But we'll be looking forward to some peace on this whole thing. I really don't want the world to go up in nuclear smoke. And I think, honestly, I think that probably the people in charge who are of that perspective as well, you know, depending on how you believe the world is structured, if you think that there is, you know, a power structure of a few hundred or a few thousand individuals who kind of really run things, you got to imagine that they're not interested in seeing the world turn into a nuclear wasteland either. You know, they've got to live here. So I'm hopeful that cooler heads will prevail on all of this at some point, because it's that underlying concept of mutually assured destruction. You know, that's kind of the reset, right? That kind of brings everybody to an equal playing field. You launch, we launch, we're all dead. So just don't launch. And Mark Andreessen, you know him, he's the multi-billionaire founder of Netflix and all sorts of stuff. I'm sorry, Netscape and all sorts of stuff. Very, very smart, very rich guy. And he was talking, I remember this on Joe Rogan, about nuclear weapons. And Rogan said to Mark, you know, nuclear weapons are like a real horrible thing. Like, it's one of those things we wish we could uninvent. And Mark said, really? Because the world's kind of a lot more peaceful now that we have them. I mean, truly. Like, we don't have additional world wars. You know, we don't have World War I, World War II was sort of, you know, has not repeated itself. And if you look prior to World War I, some really brutal wars, you know, I mean, brutal. And the point he was making was that if you have kind of a big brother who watches over everybody, all the younger siblings take care of themselves, and that the nuclear sort of threat acted as that oversight, because everybody knows if anybody misbehaves too much, there will be some serious consequences. And so it sort of acted as this security blanket. Interesting point, which would go towards the argument that maybe they don't use them, right? Because of that mutually assured destruction. But when you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and spending money and money and money, and there was another headline that apparently there are special operations forces over there from the United States, you know, helping the Ukrainians. Don't know in what capacity or what that looks like, but you know, all the Russians are looking for really is a pretext. Or maybe it's not the Russians looking for it. Maybe it's the United States looking for it. Looking for some justification to really get fully into the war. Russia responds to something and they say, well, see, now we have to get in. Because there are a lot of people out there who are banging the war drums. And it's weird. Even Lindsey Graham was doing that with Elon last night. Lindsey Graham, one of the most rotten senators in the country, has said that Elon's an idiot, essentially, and that he posted this big Twitter thread, and he said that Elon's a moron, and because he's such a moron, maybe it's time that we consider taking away some of those government subsidies that go to the electric cars and stuff. And you just go, he's just like a little dictator. Oh, I have this power, and if you disagree with me, I'm going to take away that power. And Elon responded, and he said, hey, dummy. Hey, dum-dum. We haven't even been taking subsidies from the federal government. We paid all those back a long time ago. You know, so it's Lindsey Graham who doesn't even know what he's talking about, who's sort of stepping into this, and he's swinging his elbows as though, you know, he's the big tough senator. If Elon disagrees with him and he doesn't like this stuff, maybe they'll just go back to their little power desk and they'll just change the laws. And it's massive arrogance. And Lindsey Graham, more than anybody, has wanted this war for years. I mean, there's clips of him back years ago, I think 2006, you know, over there with the Ukrainians saying, we're going to do everything we can to help you, and Putin's the worst, and all this stuff. So I think he's an architect of a lot of this chaos. Probably serves him very nicely. But those are the big headlines this morning. Of course, we'll see what the day brings with some other news. A lot of Trump stuff going on currently, but I don't know that we had any big deadlines today on Thursday. I think the next Supreme Court deadline is next week, but we'll take a look at the dockets. I today got some quarterly meetings going into the office, meeting with the team to review the last quarter, Q3, set some plans in place for Q4. So I'm looking forward to that. I also have the internet service provider coming today. Remember I said yesterday on the show, 10% packet loss. Totally embarrassing. And I knew it too. I replaced the USB cords. I knew everything. Okay, I spent a lot of money on new Wi-Fi systems and the whole deal. What the heck is going on here? And it's not us. It's the ISP. The tech goes, huh? What's that? Well, let me do that again. He didn't want to say it. Let me do it again. Huh? Okay. Well, we'll get a tech out tomorrow for you. Okay, great. Thanks. 10% packet loss. Ugh! I knew the tubes were clogged. You know, I joke, the tubes get clogged on the interwebs. They're clogged. Little FBI trolls bouncing around in there trying to interfere with our live streams. But he's coming at 3 to 5 today, which means I won't be able to stream until after the internet works. So the show will be later, probably. We also have the Blake Masters debate. So I've got sort of a full day of quarterly meetings, and then I got to stop, jump into show prep. ISP guys coming. So I'm not sure what it's all going to look like exactly. But we'll see what we can squeeze together later on this evening, because there will be a lot of news to attend to. I was thinking about live streaming the Blake Masters thing, but maybe not. Maybe we'll just clip that. I don't know. But I'll be checking the stories over on Locals. And of course, my friends, I hope you are having an amazing Thursday. We're almost done. About a day and a half now before it's weekend time, baby. But I hope you're getting outside, getting some fresh air, getting some beautiful sunshine out there, and you're making it a great day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.